Maybe energy is presence. Energy is matter. The very top emotional state is enlightenment, and not many of us are there. Bottom is the very two bottom emotions, and people are often really surprised by this, are guilt and shame. Shame is the lowest. Guilt is the next. If you're constantly saying that you feel guilty, you're ashamed, you feel embarrassed, all of this stuff, you're actually putting yourself below a healthy frequency repeatedly. And I said, what if you were to embrace it and to love the dark part of you? Because we are dark, we are light. You know, this is duality. We live on planet Earth. It is dark, it is light.
All the moms, all the mothers are special to me. But you are a super special mom. And you know why? Because you have Ruby, right? So tell me what is special about Ruby.
Strong-minded girl. She's a very determined girl. She just came back from Berlin with a gold, silver, and bronze for the Special Olympics for UAE.
Let's say that we will meet in 3 years from now. Now we are 2023. We'll meet in 2026. And we meet again and you will tell me, Badr, the last 3 years were just amazing. And this is why. Steph, welcome to my podcast. Hope to know the podcast. You are a energy healer, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me about energy and the healing field, please?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me. And I think it's just funny how the universe works and how people connect sometimes. When it comes to energy, I believe everything's made of energy. And in terms of healing and the work that I do, a lot of it is quite a simple thing, and it's just reminding people to help to reconnect them back to their center, to who they are, you know, to really have that connection, because there's so much disconnection. I don't know if you feel that as well, but a lot of us walk around and have you ever driven in your car, for instance, and then got home and realized, where did I just drive?
Yeah.
You know, we're on autopilot a lot of the time, right? So I think like what I aim to do is to help people to understand we all have gifts, we all have challenges, but what are those gifts and what are the gifts that come from the challenges that we have? You know, and you can only really do that if you understand a little bit about your own personal energy. You know, what does that relate to? I guess I look at it, we're holistic beings, right? We're spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, and we're also energetic. We have an aura, right? Like, I don't know about you, but you see some people and you're like, oh, I want to get to know them, right?
That's true. That's true.
And some you're like, you know, well, I'm not sure about this person.
Is that the aura or energy?
So the aura is really classified as the energy field. There's, you know, we have, you know, as humans, we love what we can see and what we understand, right? And the energy body is a funny one because we can't really see it, can we? We can't really see this thing that's moving around, you know, beyond our physical body. You can actually photograph it. So my background is actually science, and background is medical. But so to go into that, because a lot of people, you know, when you talk about spirituality, energy, these things, they're like, well, show me the proof. You can actually photograph your aura, and it's with a thing called Kirlian photography. So you can actually see the colors that come off from this aura, from this energy field, if you like.
Okay.
And I think everyone can relate to the fact of, you know, let's say you walk by someone and you get this funny feeling, or the hairs stand up on the end of your, you know, this is your energy field. So it extends many meters and feet beyond you, actually.
Yeah, it's funny because it happened to me a lot of time when I meet people, right? I feel like I want to sit behind them. Something is attracting me to them, right? I want to know more about them. I want to get into their field of energy, because I don't know if it's positivity or something else. I cannot explain, as you said. There is something that we cannot prove. They are not materialistic or material to prove to people, right? So still these days, everyone is talking about energy. But from your experience with your client, for example, how we can classify those energies, right?
I think sometimes we try to complicate things. Energy for me, I can to simplify it, maybe energy is presence. Energy is matter. This table's made of energy. Everything's made of energy, and everything has its own, let's say, address, physical address in the universe. And that address is connected to the vibration of that particle. That's, if you look at it from a scientific point of view, they say like attracts like, right? So when you talk about wanting to be drawn to someone, then, it's my belief. And also, it's proven that things that are of the same frequency will be drawn to one another. So maybe that person, when you start to talk to them, you find some similarities. It's like you and I had a similar thing over Instagram, but it was in a different way. True. I was like, why haven't I met this guy through the ice before? And I was like asking you about the podcast studio to start, right? And then you were like, what's your story? And I was like, and I told you a little bit, and you were like, oh my God, we have something very similar, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So, it's like, I feel like energy, sometimes people try to complicate it, but, energy is matter. That's in the scientific point of view. Everything is vibrating at a different frequency, a different level. But as human beings, we have different frequencies, which are dependent on our emotional state. Different emotions have different frequencies as well. So maybe that person at that day, maybe you're on the same frequency, You're both maybe in a space of peace. So you're drawn to that person. And also like when people are frustrated and angry, sometimes they're drawn to, misery loves company, right?
Yes, that's true.
So it works both ways.
So misery, if I understand, if we take the example for misery, it has a frequency.
Yeah, well, so there's a really great chart that I use to show my clients. It's basically from a book called Power versus Force. And it shows a cone, and it's a colored cone. Actually, I wish I'd brought it now. But basically, it's a colored cone, and it starts at the bottom. And the bottom frequency, the bottom emotion, the cone goes like this, right? So everything at the top is expanded. Everything at the bottom is constricted. And the emotions, actually, I'm going to ask you, what do you think the very lowest emotional frequency is?
I think it's sadness, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Anger.
Okay.
And they have in mind also frustration.
Okay.
I think for me, these are the three that are really in the bottom of the frequency. Okay. It's not elevate when you are sad, when you are angry, when you're frustrated, your energy is down. So you cannot elevate somehow your emotional connections to be in the flow, to be in alignment with your true energy. I think this is my
Okay, so what do you think is at the top before I give you the answers?
Oh my God. At the top, I think when you are in Zen mode, relax. I think maybe not. Yeah. Joy.
Yes.
I think the joy.
Joy is near the top. So the very top emotional state is enlightenment, and not many of us are there yet. We're not haven't reached that. We're not like Dalai Lama status yet, But the next down from that is love. Oh. Love is one of the highest frequencies that we can, joy is up there. Now at the bottom is the very two bottom emotions, and people are often really surprised by this, are guilt and shame. Shame is the lowest. Guilt is the next. Now, what's interesting about this, and I use this a lot with my female clients, and particularly mothers. We have no problem as mothers saying, I feel guilty about this, I feel guilty about that. What do we want to feel guilty about? Anger is at 150. It's actually higher up the scale.
Wow.
Yes. And the interesting thing about that is that our bodies, to be healthy, there's a frequency of around, I don't have the exact number, but let's say it's around 50 to 65 hertz, right? So guilt and shame are 20 and 30. So if you're constantly saying that you feel guilty, you're ashamed, you feel embarrassed, all of this stuff, you're actually putting yourself below a healthy frequency repeatedly. Oh,
it's super powerful.
Yes, super powerful. What is wrong with being angry? Angry is 150. It's a healthy emotion, but it's not the emotion, it's how we express it.
Wow.
And I know
guilt.
this because I'm an angry person. I
Okay.
might not look like it at the moment, but it's one of my things that I've had to work incredibly hard, and I'm still not there yet. I find myself, I can be triggered very easily. So I have to look at ways of how can I, dissipate this anger in my body. There's different places where the emotions like to sit in your body as well. Anger likes to sit in the liver. So the more you don't express it in a healthy way, it sits and stays in your body. So for me, I do some boxing.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I still get angry.
Okay.
My kids will tell you for sure. But I'm working on it. And then I will say to them afterwards, that wasn't, I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. That's, so I'm accountable for it. Does it make it right that I continue to do it? No, but I'm learning, and I'll get there.
So it's really interesting and really powerful, these two emotions, the guilt and feeling guilty and shame, right? If a client came to you, right, and asked you for help, usually what is the root cause of those two bad feelings?
I think most people, if I'm honest, they come to me because they have anxiety. They have an anxiety or they're exhausted. But what happens is when I start to work on them from an energetic point of view, I can pick up the emotions. So I'll know, I'll either work on a certain body part, and then I'll say to them, I've picked up a little bit of, is it possible that you're, holding on to some anger? I'm working on it on the right side. So is this related to, tell me about your relationship with your dad, because the right is the masculine.
Oh.
So I can, it's like, and then, I see a dominant figure when I'm working on them, this like kind of certain energy to it, a quality to it. And I'll say, I'll describe it, and they'll say, yeah, like this is my dad. And so then we work on acknowledging, because I feel like with the emotions, once you can acknowledge something, like healing is really, again, very simple. I feel, but we try to complicate it. And healing is really about accepting, acknowledging first that it's there. It's like, they talk about alcoholics. It's like, you can't go to AA if you don't acknowledge you're an alcoholic, right? So it's like, okay, is it possible that I might have some anger in my body? And the first time this was said to me from another healer, and she spotted it in me, she said, you've got a lot of repressed anger. I got even more angry. I was like, no, I don't. Like,
Okay.
I got very defensive. I wasn't ready to, I was trying to put this persona that I'm all, shiny, happy people, right? And the first time she did that, it triggered me like immensely. And then I was like, no, I do. I have anger in my body. I'm holding on to a lot of things. And I think when you can acknowledge it, it's like a relief. It's like, oh, I've been holding that in for so long,
Yeah. So acknowledging the feeling can be the beginning of the healing.
Yeah,
right?
acknowledging, accepting, and the third one for me that's huge, and this is the one is, embracing. So it's loving that part of yourself, which is, it's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think?
I think it's a kind of, it's like a conflict part, right? Embracing those feelings and at the same time try to heal them. So in one side you are trying to keep in them, to embrace them, to forgive yourself for what you feel, and at the same time you want to get rid from them, right?
This is the thing. You hit the nail on the head, because I think in healing we talk about, if you look on Instagram, there's a lot of this, let go of what does not serve you. It's like, let go of what does not serve you. And recently I had a client, and it was pretty powerful. And it came up for her because a lot of these messages come through me. It's not me. I let it flow through whatever's the message is meant to come. And I said to her, there's a lot of you talking a lot about releasing and letting go, like when I finally let go of this anger or this whatever. And I said, what if you were to embrace it and to love the dark part of you? Because we are dark, we are light. This is duality. We live on planet Earth. It is dark, it is light. So we are rejecting our darkness continuously, and we see other people like darkness in them, and straight away we're like, whoa, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Because it's a reflection of us.
Yeah.
We all have that capability within us to have dark and light. That's what the human journey is, right?
That's true.
So what if you can just say, okay, I have anger within me, and I will do the best with it that I can. And I will love it. and I will love it in others as well. Again, I can say this seamlessly, and as to say it as a theory is like easy, but to put it in practice, again, takes practice, continuous all the time.
I think it makes sense because from the moment we are aware of our feelings, whatever it is, right? We are aware, we acknowledge them, and we say, hey, I have this. So if I react like this, meaning that I am living with this feeling right now, right? So it's not like you are ignoring them. Someone you are telling me, Steph, you are an angry person. So no, never, I'm not angry. And at the same time, here you are telling me, you know that you are angry and you are working on it. I think it will make the whole difference in the perspective and in the journey of embracing, healing, and all that stuff. Maybe I'm not expert in that field, but in my opinion, I can see it this way.
No, what you say has a lot of value because in society, it's not acceptable to be angry. But what if we could say, if you said to me, Steph, I'm angry, and I could say, okay, I'm going to let you be angry. Like, tell me what you're angry about. What if we could have conversations around this, you know? But we don't. Somebody gets angry and they go, oh my God, look at that. You know, we shame them. We shame people for being angry, right? Instead of having and holding a space for them. Now, okay, there are instances where people are violently angry, and do we want to engage in that? No, it's best to, you know, back off. But at the same time, most people who are angry, it's a reasonable level where, you know, but people don't want to express it because it's not, they don't want to be shamed for it. Again, shame is at the bottom,
and guilt,
you know? So I feel like it's an interesting one, and I don't have all the answers to it either. I can only look at it from my own personal story. And I think, you know, the main thing is acknowledging it. And the analogy that I always get for this is when a child comes and they're pulling on their mother's, you know, their mom's talking to their friend. Yeah, that was conversation. You know, we moms get together and we're you know, gossiping, whatever. And the kid comes and they're supposed to be playing. We're like, go play. They come and they tug on your shoulder, on your shirt or whatever, and you're like, oh, just go away. They're not going to go away. But when you acknowledge them and you say, yes, you know, what can I help you with? What do you want? And then you fulfill their needs, they go away. It's the same with an emotion. The emotion's there. It's tugging, it's tugging, it's tugging. We push it down, push it down, push it down. It's not going to go away. It's going to only amplify until it gets to a point where...
It's taking me to another point, which is the parenting. So can we say, or maybe you can tell me if there is a relationship between those anger, feeling of shame and guilt, which is coming from the childhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what we're doing now collectively as human beings is we're clearing a lot of old programs. It's like, imagine we're in a digital age, right? So we can talk about like technology-wise, right? Yeah. So we're clearing a lot of old programming that came from our ancestors, from my mom, my grandma, my great-grandma. Because what do? We're humans, we follow patterns, right? So we see our mom act in a certain way, and I'm my mother now in a lot of ways. Like, you know, I see myself and I go, oh my God, I've just done what my, you know, I sound like my mother. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. But it's like, as women, I think we go, I'm sure my daughters would be like, oh my God, I don't want to be like my mom. You know, like, no, but it's a thing. It's a thing where we go, oh, I don't want to sound like her because, you know, whatever. But what I'm saying is we're clearing a lot of ancestral patterning right now. And yes, of course we get things passed down and their habits and behaviors. And actually when clients come to me, I'm able to pinpoint, is this energy yours? This dominant masculine, you know, let's say a woman has a dominant masculine figure. Sometimes the mom and the dad are both like this. And this is what happened in my case, both very... my parents are lovely people. They're amazing. They raised 6 kids. Imagine. Right. My mom had 6 kids by the age of 30. Imagine that. Plus we had 6 elderly people living in our house. Oh. That's another story. Okay. So my parents are lovely people, but however, they're both very masculine energies. So that is something that I have had to deprogram from myself in some way and not take the good part of the masculine. Masculine is not bad, but I was overly in this energy of this kind of, you know, just push, you know, and I've had to learn to allow my feminine to come, to give it some space in
It
there
was
as
part
well.
of the healing process?
Yeah, it still is. It still is. And so we do learn from our parents, but we're able to also, like I say, if a client comes, I can see whether this programming is from, I'll always ask them, do you feel like this is really you? And then they'll say, no, I don't think it is. And it's like, how liberating is that? Because you can realize that, okay, this was given to me by my mom. It's not my energy. So I actually have the power to find out what is my energy. And that's where we help to reconnect back and go, who are you really? What is your energy? Why did you come to this earth? What are you here to do?
This is super powerful. Super powerful. I can share a story because when you say these two emotions, guilt and shame, it triggered something in me in a very soft way.
Okay.
And I'm going to share with you why. Actually, when I was 8 years old, it was an accident. It happened one accident with one of my friends, actually. It was a physical accident. And till I was 34, I was living in this feeling of a guilt because I hit this little boy at that time when I was 8. And this feeling was stuck with me until 36. 36, a lot of things happened in my life. A lot of things. Divorce, therapy. It was a full discovery for myself. And it was not enough until I went to the neuro-linguistic programming training for 14 days. And then I went through the timeline therapy. And the coach, she spotted this. She asked me a lot of questions about taking decisions, about some matters in life. And they said, sometimes I want to do things, but something inside of me is blocking me. I don't know what is it. And she took me through the timeline therapy to the past. And she told me, okay, so when was the first time that you felt the guilt? Boom, tak, 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 tak. When I was 8 years old. So she took me through the process. And as you said, I accepted this fact that this thing happened at that time. I was not guilty because I didn't do it on purpose. It was accident. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of moment when I forgave myself at that time. And then everything shifted in my mind. That was crazy. It was not a black magic or whatever we call it. Just, it was a mind shifting. The way how you see and how you say the story to yourself and how you rephrase it differently. It helps me a lot. That's why when you say the guilt and the shame, the guilt straight away said, that makes sense because I have a similar story at that time. Now I can remember this story. I can share it without any problem, without any feeling of guilt, just because I did what I had to do at that time, right? Just go through the therapy, basically. Yeah. It changed everything. That's why I asked you about this. Is there anything to do with the childhood when we do things like this?
I think what I'm just drawn to now about the story that you've told, and thank you for sharing that because that's, it's powerful, right?
Welcome, thank you.
And I think what's really interesting is the word that you use that caught my attention the most is forgiveness. This is one of the most powerful healing tools that we can have. It's so powerful to forgive.
Wow.
And sometimes we don't realize, but often when we're forgiving someone else, we're forgiving ourselves, right? Sometimes people go, what do you mean? And it's like, try it. When you do it, right? It's like this, if you know, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not really something you can put into words, is it? I don't know what you feel.
It's super powerful.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is super powerful. Sometimes people, they cannot forgive themselves just because they did a simple mistake. There is nothing to do with others, just with themselves. Why? Because there is a pressure. I think, I'm not an expert in this field, but I think it's all about how the parent were educating the kids when it comes to doing mistakes, accepting the mistakes. Some parents, they are very tough with their kids, right? You don't have the right to have a mistake. You don't have the right to, you should behave this way. You should. And we forget that the kids from 0 to 7, they are like sponge. They are just absorbing everything. Why you don't give them the space to make the mistakes, to learn from the mistakes and to embrace them? Now I have some clients and some friends. They are my age and they couldn't forgive themselves for stupid mistake in their lives. Why? Because they were programmed, as you said, is programmed. They were programmed this way. You don't have the right to do the mistake. I don't know which school is this, but I think
I think it runs rampant through all cultures, all races, all religions.
It's crazy.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of that. And here I am, I'm saying I'm guilty of that. But yeah, I've done that with my kids. You should be like this, should be like that. You know why? Because I'm worried about how I'm viewed as a parent. It's all about me, really, isn't it? It's not really about them. My youngest is very good at pulling me up on that. She's like, you just want me to do this because you're worried. You want your friends to think X, Y, Z. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Wow.
I'm like, ooh, burn. So she's brought into my life to, you know, whack that out of me. Number 3, you know, by the 3rd child, it's
amazing.
Like, yeah. And I have work to do with the oldest. I have a 22-year-old and, you know, and I've said to her, I've done a lot of recently, like just kind of apologizing in some ways to her about, but in a way of like, you know, maybe I did this with you, but this is where I came from in it. This is, you know, this is what the skill set that I was given, but I'm here for you if you want to work on it. Because I have to acknowledge this or it just continues on again, you know? So I have to take accountability and responsibility. You know, I could just say, well, my parents taught me that. So, you know.
The easy way.
Yeah,
right?
but, you know, I have to say, no, I made these mistakes. I make mistakes every bloody day as a parent. Like, you know, it is probably the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And then also the other thing that it's interesting when you talk about mistakes, this comes up a lot with my clients as well. I seem to get a lot of clients who are, you know, self-proclaimed perfectionists. But you know what? I have a new take on it and I love it because it throws people off. And it's like, so you tell me you're a perfectionist. And I say, are you a perfectionist? Then they're like, yeah. They're usually quite proud of it, actually. And they're like, yeah, I'm a perfectionist. And then I say, how are you with making mistakes? And they're like,
wow.
No, I don't like to make mistakes. I say, well, then you're not a perfectionist. Because if you're really a perfectionist, you have to make mistakes to learn to get better, right?
That's true.
So actually, you're not a perfectionist if you don't like making mistakes.
Yeah.
And it throws them off like, what?
Yeah.
But it's so true, right?
Yeah. I think the definition of the society of perfection, it mislead a lot of people.
Yeah.
Into embracing this perfection. I'm perfectionist in doing this. I'm perfection. And it's funny, I swear. It's super powerful. Now, every time I am watching this or hearing this word, I'm perfectionist on YouTube, I said, something is not adding up in there, right? So perfectionist. So what we can tell to the parents through this platform about the education of the kids?
Oh, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that advice.
You have the experience.
I have 3 kids, yes. I think it comes down to looking at yourself first. You can't look at your kids until you look inward at yourself and you look at what healing you need to do. So I'm still doing the healing. It's like I'm looking at myself and, I also thought I was, that's why I'm able to pick it out, because I also thought I was a perfectionist, but I hated making mistakes because, again, as in my childhood, it was like, don't you dare do this. Like if you get, and this is just my generation of my parents grew up in, and my parents didn't come from, great educational backgrounds. Like, and so for them, I'm the firstborn. It's like, you need to have straight A's. If I got a B, I got in trouble. It's like, so there I'm already being taught that if it's not perfect, then there's no point even trying. It has to be perfect. And again, there's no blaming my parents for that, because that came from a place of them wanting to have a child that was educated, right? Whether I lived up to that, I don't know. But, the point is, I guess, is that I think for parents, the biggest advice I could give is look at yourself first.
Yeah.
Because you're just only projecting onto your kids. And what version do you want to project? Do you want to project this unhealed version that's come from how many generations back? Or do you want to start to create a new blueprint?
Yes.
That you can walk into, which is where... Yes, and this is what I work with as well with clients. It's like, what feeling do you want to feel? Who are you? And that's like, right now, the only thing we have is this moment right now.
Yes.
But at this moment right now, we can choose the feeling. We can choose where we want to go with that. And the minute you decide that and you bring those feelings into the present moment, then you start to, you have to take action, of course. It's not like you dream up this blueprint and just hang out,
Can you elaborate more about the blueprint? I love this, the blueprint. What is it exactly?
So we talk about blueprints. I think a lot of people, are starting to talk a little bit about this now. But blueprint for me is, so going back to your energy field. Your energy field is, again, it's a thing. It exists. It's there, right? And from our perspective as energy healers, your energy field, if you look at the Ayurvedic system or the yogic philosophy, which is part of what I'm trained in, is there's a thing called the Akasha or the Akashic records. So what is that? To simplify it, your energy field is like a library. So anything that's ever happened to you in this lifetime, now again, I'm going to get some skepticism here.
Go ahead.
It depends, again, this is my belief,
yes.
Okay? And there's a lot of people who also believe the same as what I believe, but it may not sit with everyone, that's fine. So if you believe that, we go through many lifetimes, then anything that's ever happened in those lifetimes before, it actually is an imprint. There's a book or a chapter or something in your energy field about that. So when we do energy healing, we can access those records and we can access those different parts. It's like, how can I pick up, I don't know anything about the client when they come in. How can I pick up they had a dominant father? Because I can read energy. So it's like, and how do I find that they have, digestive issues? Because I can read it in their energy field. And they'll say, and it's like, I'm not always right, but a lot of, I've got a pretty good strike rate on these things. Yeah. And it's like, everything that's ever there is in that energy field. So the blueprint is, in a way, like when you build a house, you make a blueprint, right?
Yes.
Bathroom goes here, front entrance here. So again, the blueprint is a culmination of all those other layers, your mental, your emotional, your physical. So like, I know people relate a lot to physical really well, right? So if you get in an accident and you have like a neck injury, let's say, for many years after that, you can still feel it, right? Or people might even see like a car and all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, my neck.
Yes.
Because it's a memory, right?
Yeah.
The same thing goes for feelings, Let's say you lose a parent at a young age, that stays with you for many years after that. It's in your energy field, like that information sits there. So some things you want to remove or to maybe upgrade them, and other things, you accept and embrace that they're there. I'm trying to find the simplest way to describe it, but it's like a library.
I got the puzzle of the blueprint is let's say the definition of your identity somehow, right? How you want to be, what you want to include in your puzzle or the wheel of your life.
Yes, like you're a holistic being, right?
Yeah.
We focus a lot on physical. That's our number one, I think, yeah. Now we're getting into mental a lot more, which is great. People are acknowledging, we have issues with mental health.
A lot.
Great. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Emotional, a little bit, still kind of on the edge of that.
Yet,
yeah, but we're getting there. I feel like it's calming.
Nice.
Yeah, spiritual, again, this is so personal. Spiritual is but it's a layer of us, whether we acknowledge we're spiritual beings or not. And that can be expressed in whatever way you choose to express that, whether it's religion, whether it's the fact that you connect with your breath every day in a meditation, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Spiritual is very personal. So I don't talk about that as much because I think it's, again, very personal. But your energy field or layer is another part of who you are. And this is almost kind of like your invisible library of memories, of events, emotions, everything all culminated into one blueprint.
Yeah, like that. So, Steph, you are a mom. And all the moms, all the mothers are special to me. But you are a super special mom. And you know why? Because you have Ruby, right? So tell me what is special about Ruby.
So Ruby was born with Down syndrome in 2006. And she's always been Ruby. Like,
Okay.
and anyone that knows Ruby will know what I mean when I say she's always been Ruby. She's got her own very dynamic and special personality. She was later diagnosed with autism in 2019 when she was doing her first Special Olympics here in Abu Dhabi. So she, Ruby is a change maker, and she does that a lot through me. But she's very, very. She gets these things in her head. You know, it's almost like a telepathic kind of message I get from her of like, we need to do this. But I always say there's Down syndrome, there's autism, and then there's Ruby.
Okay.
So I think
Super special.
yeah, she's a very strong-minded girl. She's a very determined girl. She just came back from Berlin with a gold, silver, and bronze for the Special Olympics for UAE.
Amazing.
Yeah, and she worked incredibly hard at that, despite all the challenges that she has. But the thing about Ruby is that, and she's the one who's taught me all of this. Like all my girls have taught me a lot about who I am, about life in general. But she's like, I say, I'm the Jedi and she's Yoda. She's really the spiritual teacher because she does not wear any mask. So she can really teach us about emotions.
Yes.
Because if she's angry, she is screaming down your face and she's telling you to all kinds of expletives. They say people with Down syndrome are so happy. Oh yeah? You come to my house when she doesn't want to do something and you'll get the F-bomb, thrown at you. It's like she doesn't filter anything. And that is, it can be difficult to deal with, but at the same time, it's beautiful because I feel it's how we're meant to be.
I can rely on this because I told you my little sister, she is Down syndrome too. She is 36. And as you said, it's the transparency itself. You can read every emotional stage on her face straight away. If she is not happy, she will show you that she is not happy. If she wants to eat, and God knows that she loves to eat. If she is happy, you can see it on her face. And my own experience because she was born when I was 10, and when she was 1 year old, 2 years old, I was asking my parents, she's different, right? Because she couldn't sit straight away, she couldn't walk like all the kids. And then my parents took me through the process to understand that she was special, and she is, right? And yeah, what I can say, they are like angels in the house. Their energy, we're talking about the energy, their presence, it's just, I don't have words to describe it. But every time I'm going back there, I can feel the love. I can feel the pure emotions. It's unconditional love from those kids. They are really amazing. So now take me through the challenges that you faced, right? For their inclusion, for the scholarship, for the medical health. Tell me about the fights that you had here in UAE.
So Ruby was born in Abu Dhabi in 2006, and then we went to New Zealand for a couple of years, actually. That's where her father's from. And we were there for a couple of years. So she started her mainstream school journey in New Zealand, which is a very, let's say it's advanced for inclusion. It's been going there for a long time. So when we came back to the UAE 3 years later, 2012. And I was like, we need to put the kids in school. And I tried to get Ruby into school, and I had over 40 rejections to get her into school. Wow. Now there was only really one, maybe two schools at the time that were taking children of determination, but they were full, and there wasn't really a lot of acceptance around it. So, one of the replies that I got at the time was, we don't have facilities for people like that. And I said, do you have a desk and a chair and a pen and paper? Those are the facilities that I require. And, things like we don't have people like that. And so this really, stirred a fire in me. Yeah. I used to be a photographer here in Dubai for many years. I started a campaign called I Am Me. The Me stands for Most Extraordinary. And the aim of the campaign was to educate advocate and mainstream beauty in difference. So it's about showing people, okay, this, we'd talk a little bit about whatever syndrome the person had, educational wise, like what is this? Extra chromosome, whatever. Advocate to say, like, again, to show that it's just another human being, actually. And to mainstream beauty and difference, to make this more mainstream. Like, why are we hiding these things? Why are we, let's support one another. That's what society and community is supposed to be all about. So I started that project, and from that project, I connected with somebody who worked in government, who had a very good, prominent position.
Nice.
And spent a lot of time with her, and it told her everything. This is what's happening. This is the things. These are the things that are coming. And then not long after, a few years after, but she was like, "I'm making this my mission before I go. This is my mission to get this done." And so a policy was born. The educational framework was first, and then by 2020, it was mandated that no child can be turned away from mainstream school in Dubai. That's Ruby. So a lot of, I'm not going to say we're the only person that fought against that, but we were a very strong and loud voice in that. I spoke as a parent at KHDA when they launched the policy. And my main focus for that talk in front of all those principals was to highlight the issues that we have. Not to, I think it was a bit of a surprise, because I talked about the high level of divorce that happens in families of determination. I talked about the debt that was being accrued, because now you're putting kids in school, but now you're saying you have to pay. These children are paying in the city of Dubai. Still, they're still paying sometimes double what the kid next to them is paying. And I'm not done with that yet.
Okay.
So, it's something that still needs to be addressed. This is not full inclusion. There are laws here that say that there should be no barriers to education, and that includes financial. But it's a matter of having to go to every school and fight the fight. And it's like, I can't fight anymore, so I'm going to do it in another way.
Okay.
So, I feel like, I will say for the UAE, they have been phenomenal in this. They've grown very rapidly in this, in terms of inclusion. They have done, if you tell the UAE, if you tell the government here, this is what we want, they do it. It's done.
This is amazing.
It's done. I can give so much credit to that.
Yeah.
We sat in front of, a representative in Abu Dhabi during the Special Olympics, and I got 17, individuals together, their parents, and we told them all of these things that are happening. And they made change within an insurance policy within that time. That was the most pressing issue of the extra costs that were huge costs that were being put on people of determination. So there's a lot of things still, and the families, this is 80% divorce rate, that 80% marital discord. It's a lot. Yeah. And we are one of those we're one of those statistics now.
80% is.
And I can say that,
high.
we're lucky we're an amicable, split. But at the same time, I sometimes wonder, would we have separated if we didn't have those extra heavy pressures that we had, financial pressures. So we accrued up to 500,000 dirhams of loans to pay for these extra fees.
500,000.
500,000. And that's only, there's people who have way more than that. So
wow.
I'm saying this because I feel like it's still an issue that needs to be addressed.
Is there any community, is there any association that they are pushing, they are reporting, escalating those issues to the governments?
There's a lot of really great organizations in Dubai that are, and the UAE in total, in Abu Dhabi, a lot of organizations that are helping to, make the lives of people of determination better. Touch Dubai is one of them. It's one I'm affiliated with. There's Cedra in Abu Dhabi. I think at the end of the day right now, it's about training the people of determination, making sure they get into school, training them, getting them ready for jobs, that kind of thing. These things, these issues that I'm talking about are very heavy, so I think it takes a lot to get there. And I think we will, but right now it's sort of like the focus is on get the kids into school. Let's get them through school. Let's train them. Let's get them into the workplace. And then we're looking at as well, I'm looking at where's Ruby going to live? You know, she should be able to live in a community, in a village, in a, you know, in a nice community where they can work but an inclusive community, not just people with special needs. This is not inclusion.
Yes.
This is not inclusion. It's still separation, you know? So how do we include people with determination in our society? How do we include them?
This is a very interesting topic.
How do you feel about that?
I think I can understand it's kind of challenging because when I was living in France for like 6-7 years, I jumped into Germany. It's a city called Baden-Baden, and they have a huge village only for the people of determination. And a lot of them were Down-Syndrome people. They had a school over there, they had the gymnasium over there, they have places where they work, they are getting married together.
Yeah, I love that.
When I saw this, I was like in tears because my sister back in Morocco, thanks to my mom, she's a teacher. So during the scholarship, she was taking her. She got the permission from the principal of the school that she will bring her daughter, which is Down syndrome, and she will be sitting at the end of the class just to keep her stimulated a bit. And thanks to this, she got stimulated. Okay, she cannot read perfectly, she cannot write perfectly, but she got stimulated every single day, right?
Amazing.
Facilities back in my home country, I'm not sure we are yet there comparing to UAE, to be honest. It's all on your own expenses. Everything is on your expenses. Yeah, but I think some things should be done, and I hope this platform can be a voice also, you know, outside to get things pushed. I have a big belief and trust in the government here in UAE. I can see that they do a lot of things for the people of determination. And Sheikh Mohammed here, personally here in UAE, in Dubai specifically, I know he's very strict when it comes to this.
Yeah, no, like I say, when they know what's happening, I think there's really a lot of, there can be rapid acceleration.
Yes, yeah.
But I felt like there's a really simple solution to it. And I don't know, I'm a mom, right? So like, what do I know?
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, isn't it in Islam that you give like a certain, aren't you meant to give a tax like for the poor, right? For instance, for example, is it called zakat? Is that right?
Yeah. This is
so
the meaning
why
of
can
it.
this not be applied to schools in that the schools give a percentage based on their, I understand every school makes different profits. So why can the schools not give this charitable tax per se, you know, back into a fund that pays these extra fees? Because we're meant to all be, you know, going to school together. And, you know, it's a lot to ask this, to pay this extra fees. And they'll say, well, your child need extra care. Well, they do. They do need extra care. But, you know, as human beings, we're supposed to help others.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not saying I have the solution. But for me, that seems like a really viable solution. And I have voiced this.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe it gets heard by the right person. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a nice decision to be taken. I don't know why, but yeah, I hope through this platform the voices will reach over there. Yeah, and I'm sure again I have the trust and the belief for the government of UAE.
Yeah, I'm super grateful. We're super grateful. I mean, the Special Olympics was a great example of that.
Yeah, tell me more about the Olympics.
That was, you know, the UAE team was completely, you know, they paid for the training, they paid for, everything was covered. If I was if I had a child on the Special Olympics team in another country, let's say I came from, you know, Mexico, no, those parents have to go and they have to fundraise. To send their kids. And you could see it in the medals when there was a girl with Ruby when she got her gold and, you know, she got the silver and she was from El Salvador. And when she got the medal, there was so much emotion. Wow. The parents, everything. And I thought, yeah, these guys really had to work. Like we worked, but they really had to work for this, you know, and God knows what they sacrificed to come here. You know, and so it really put it in perspective. And I was like, we are really lucky. I mean, the kids got given a suitcase full of Adidas gear, you know, the clothing for the whole time they were there. Amazing. Like, and just probably the most important thing and the most beautiful thing was the level of commitment of the coaches. So these coaches, they all volunteered.
Wow.
So they took their own vacation, like Ruby's gym coach, Sarah Mercer, she's a phenomenal human being. She took her vacation time to go to the Special Olympics, left her kids to go and be with our kids during that time.
I love these people who are really purposeful
Amazing.
in life. Yeah, this is really amazing. Okay. So tell me, Steph, let's say that we will meet in 3 years from now. Now we are 2023. We'll meet in 2026. And we meet again and you will tell me, Badr, the last 3 years were just amazing. And this is why.
Okay.
Can you tell me about this?
I do have an answer for this, actually.
You have a plan.
So I am in the middle of creating a meditation app, possibly a VR meditation game.
Okay.
That it's called the Mindful Pod. So I'm in the stage.
Mindful Pod.
The Mindful Pod.
Pod. Okay.
So this is exciting for me because of what we've just been talking about. And this particular app and this game, when it makes millions, is going to have a fund for people of determination so that they can access school, so that their families can access therapy, their families can access counseling, whatever things are not being looked at, are not quite there yet, that this can act as, support for those families. And to help them, to move forward. And also, I would like to employ people of determination as well within that organization when I get big enough to do that.
This is a brilliant project.
Yeah, and it's not my project. I say it's not my project. It's come through me. I tried to make this a go. I pitched it to Expo. I got rejected. I pitched it in Abu Dhabi. I got rejected. And I was like, oh, thank God I got rejected, because it was like, oh, I don't have to do this now.
Okay.
Because when you
timing.
because sometimes when you get a project and it gets given to you, when it comes through you, it's like, it's your purpose. Sometimes you don't want to do it. Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah.
It's like, it's too hard. And I like doing hard things, but I was like, this is big. Like, I'm not Anyway, it's come to me again, and it's like, Steph, you need to do this again. Yeah. You've got to try again. And I'm like, I got rejected.
Excuse.
But you know what? I understand. Rejection is the universe's protection.
Yes.
If I had got, if this project had gone through the first time, because it involves physical spaces as well with the app. So if I had got that the first time, COVID hit and it would have collapsed because I wouldn't have had clients going into the physical spaces.
Okay.
So it's a blessing. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to come back and tell you in 3 years that it's thriving.
We will meet before.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is your passion?
My passion, I have so many.
Yeah.
My passion, I would say, if I look at everything I've ever done, is helping people see their light. Even as a photographer, it's like helping people. Photography is light, yeah? I think my passion is helping people see their light.
This is cool. Amazing. And that was actually a question from my previous guest, the passion question.
Okay.
Yeah. So can you give me a question for my next guest, please?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Pressure.
No.
Okay, my question for them is, what is the energy behind your purpose?
Wow, I love that. Okay.
We'll make it topic relevant, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. Okay. I love this discussion. Thank you so much. I would love if we had more time. I know we are super busy, but I promise we will go for a second round for the discussion. It was really, really amazing. I love that. Thank you for sharing your experiences. It was my experience also for Ruby and for Sukaina. Her name is Sukaina, by the way. Yeah. Thank you so much, Steph.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it was wonderful having a chat with you. Thank you so much.
Love that.